Welcome everyone to In Sarah's Tent. I'm here with Nancy. Hello, Nancy.
Hello, Sandy.
We are continuing the story of Noah and the flood, and we are going to finish up chapter 8 tonight, where Noah has come out of the ark, and we're going to be looking at some of the things he did when he came out. So, Nancy, would you like to read? I think we start on was it 15? Chapter 8, verse 15 to the end of the chapter?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll read Genesis 8, starting with verse 15 and to the end of the chapter.
Okay.
God spoke to Noah, saying, Go forth from the ark, you and your wife, your sons, and the wives of your sons with you, every living being that is with you, of all flesh, of birds, of animals, of all creeping things that creep on the earth. Order them out with you, and let them be prolific on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went forth, and his sons, his wife, and the wives of his sons with him. Every living being, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth by their families came out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to Hashem, and he took of every animal that is clean and every bird that is clean, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Hashem smelled the aroma that was pleasing, and Hashem said in his heart, I will not continue to curse again the ground because of man, since the thoughts of the heart of man are evil from his youth, nor will I continue again to smite every living being as I have done. Continuously all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease.
Hey, thank you, Nancy. Um, Quite an ending to where this story started about a year ago in Noah's time, not our time.
Right.
We haven't been at this quite a year. Um, so my first thoughts were he's starting in verse 15, and he told them to come out of the ark, and all the animals came out. Um, and there's a phrase in there in our translations that says in verse let's see, 17, order them out. Do you think they were hesitant to come out of the ark?
Um, well, I would think that they would want to come out of the ark. I would think
Yeah.
that um, after living a year inside a contained vessel, I would want to get out and get some fresh air. But maybe they were afraid. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. They've become accustomed to it, maybe, and they don't know what's out there. So maybe, what I know is better than what I don't know, even if what I don't know is better. So maybe, and maybe
Yeah.
they didn't want to come out. And the commentary says that if they didn't want to come out, that Noah was to force them out. So maybe that's telling us we can't just always stay in our safe place or a place that we feel is safe and comfortable. We sometimes, if we're not willing to go out, maybe sometimes Hashem kind of pushes us out.
And if you think about it, the unknown was actually better than the known. The comfort zone that they were in the ark was they didn't have a lot of room to move around, and it was claustrophobic. So the unknown going out of the ark was actually better.
Yeah,
So sometimes maybe people stay in their comfort zones not knowing that something else is better.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And a few weeks ago, who else did we talk about that was forced out of so to speak, a comfort zone?
I don't
Adam.
know. Remind me.
Adam.
Yes.
Adam
Yes.
and Hava. They were forced out of a place that had been the only place they had ever known. I mean, Noah had a remembrance of what was there before, and probably had maybe some idea of what he would be going back to, but the Garden of Eden was the only place they had known, and they were forced out. So again, we're seeing connections from this back to creation.
Yeah. It's kind of like Noah and Adam were like Noah was the Adam 2.0. I think you said that last week, 2.0, and his wife was Chava 2.0. They both had three sons.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they both the creation story and the story of the flood had all the animals, male and female,
Mm-hmm.
just like the creation, all the animals, male and female. And I would assume new trees and new plants were sprouting up on the earth, just
Yes.
like they did at the Garden of Eden. So yeah, lots of parallels.
Lots of parallels. We know that there was some vegetation growing because the dove brought back, last week we talked about the dove brought back an olive branch. So it is really creation 2.0, I would think. There is a commandment that's repeated that was told to Adam, and it's told again here in to Noah. I think it's still in verse 17. Um, let's see. Yes, order them out with you and let them be prolific on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. Exact
There you
same
go.
words.
Exact same words. Yeah.
Yeah, be fruitful and multiply. So it is just amazing how many connections we see in that.
I like reading a story and then finding a parallel or a link to another story. It kind
Right,
of makes it more meaningful.
right, exactly. So moving on to, let's see, in verse 18 says, they went forth, uh, all the people that were in the ark and every living thing that was in there with him. So they did come out of the ark. Um, then Noah built an altar. Now, there's a question that came up in my mind when I was reading this, and I read some commentary on it, and I did some Googling, but didn't find an answer with Google. But in verse 20, it says, then Noah built an altar to Hashem, and he took of every animal that is clean and every bird that is clean, and he offered burnt offerings on the altar. I'm going to read the commentary in our Humash, and then I have a question for you, Nancy.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Rambam, Rambam comments, there was a tradition that the altars of David and Solomon, of Abraham, where he bound Isaac in Genesis 22:2, of Noah, of Cain and Abel, and of Adam, were all at the same place, Mount Moriah, the site of the temple in Jerusalem. Well, the verse we just read does not say where Noah built the altar. As I have read this in years past, in my mind, it was on Mount Ararat where the ark came to rest, but it actually doesn't say that here. So if this commentary and Rambam's comments are that it's the same place where Abraham bound Isaac and was going to offer him, where Cain and Abel made their offerings, that's Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. So did Noah, do we know how much time elapsed from the time he came out of the ark until he built this altar? Did he move from Mount Ararat, where the altar came to rest? Did he migrate or move to where Jerusalem would eventually be and build his altar there? I haven't been able to find anything other than what I read here in the commentary. So, what do you think?
Well, those are very good questions. And because it doesn't say how much time lapsed between these events, and a lot of times we'll find that in the Torah. We won't know how much time it has been from one event to another event.
You're right.
So it could have been later. And a little bit later, we'll see that he planted a vineyard and made
Mm-hmm.
some wine. Well, there's got to be time
Mm-hmm.
lapsing between the time that you plant it, it grows, it creates the grapes, makes
Mm-hmm.
the wine. So we don't always get a sense of the timing. But there's another phenomena that happens in the Torah that I don't know if this relates to it or not, but sometimes there's a shortening of the journey,
Yes.
and what would normally take several days or weeks don't take doesn't take that long.
Right.
So maybe that could be one possible answer. So either we don't know how long it was, so maybe the ark rested, everybody got out, and they spread over the land.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point is when he builds an altar after some time. Or maybe it's a shortening. Maybe it didn't take him as long as it would normally take somebody to get from one place to the other.
Right.
Those are
Yeah.
just my thoughts.
No, good points. I think you made some valid points there, and just again something else that maybe we need to do more research. I had never, until I read this in the commentary, had never even thought that he had built the altar somewhere other than when he came out of the ark and built it there. But when we really stop and look at it, like we've discovered time and time again, a lot of things we assume are not necessarily supported by what we actually read in the Torah. So there's
Yeah,
some unlearning that we have to do and open our minds and erase all of that and say, let's just look at what is actually here, what it actually says.
yeah, because I always thought of here's the ark, it's stopped on top of this mountain, open the door or the gate or the side, everybody comes out and they build an ark right there and they plant a vineyard right there.
Yeah,
Well, probably they didn't plant a vineyard on top of that mountain. I mean, I
no.
they probably went to a more fertile area to yeah, so we just assume some things that are not there in the text.
Well, that brings up another question, Nancy. Where was Noah when this all started? Did we read anywhere where he was located? Or did where he built the ark, was he close to Ararat? Did the ark travel a distance from where it was built, or did it just rise up with the waters and just stay in the same area? I never thought before, where did he actually start the building?
Yeah, where was his home?
Yeah, where was his home? Yeah, that's a yeah, roundabout way. Roundabout way to say where was his home?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never
I
heard
don't know.
anybody ask that question.
No, I'd never thought of it before, but so many so many details that we would like filled in.
So maybe his home was around Jerusalem, around Mount Moriah. And so he came, after they came out of the ark, they came back home, maybe.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah. And again, how long would that have taken? I mean, I don't know, really don't know the distance. I guess we could look on a map and see what's the distance between the mountains of Ararat and where Mount Moriah is. So I don't think it's like just next door. I think it
Oh,
would have been
no.
a journey. It
Yeah.
would have been a journey. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So
so oh. Go ahead.
Also, with that altar and offering sacrifices again, we see the clean animals.
Mm-hmm.
And Noah knew which animals were clean animals and which animals were not clean animals. And he knew that the clean animals could be used for offerings on the altar.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So he had that knowledge from
Yes.
Hashem, I assume, or from tradition from Adam.
From Adam, exactly. And it seems like that was the purpose of bringing those extra clean animals. That was their purpose on being the ark. But we don't see that God commanded him to do this. It's almost like just out of gratitude and thankfulness that he has come through the flood. He has survived when, other than his family, everybody else and every other living thing has died. So we tend to sometimes think of offerings as to just make atonement for sins where we've done something wrong. But this seems to be bringing an offering of gratitude and thankfulness.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because Cain and Abel's offerings were also given without being commanded.
Right,
So I don't think so far we've had God command somebody to give an offering.
right. Don't think so. Yeah,
So all of these offerings have been out of gratitude or appreciation or thankfulness.
thankfulness. And in Leviticus, it talks about bringing that kind of offering. No, there's different kinds of offerings: the sin offering, the burnt offering, and one is the Thanksgiving offering, or maybe it's called a peace offering. I'm not sure if that's two different offerings or the same one. And it is when you just want to say, thank you, Hashem. You brought me through an illness, or you protected me on a journey, whatever you're grateful for, that it doesn't have to just necessarily be connected to make an atonement for a sin. And I think there's something really, I like verse 21. Hashem smelled the aroma that was pleasing. He does Hashem have a nose? Does he smell things? No, we know he doesn't have physical characteristics like that, but whatever that means, he was pleased. And let's contrast that with what we read at the as this story was unfolding, that Hashem was grieved, that when he saw all the evil that was going on in the world, he was grieved. But now he's pleased. It's an aroma that is pleasing, and it just the contrast of it, and the idea that, and when we get again referencing Leviticus, it says that was aromas that came up to him from the offerings were pleasing to him. And I read the commentary on that that said it's not like God likes the smell of burning or cooking meat or anything like that, because we know that does smell good to some people.
To some people.
To some people. And it isn't the aroma, the smell. It said, my people have obeyed me. And that is what is pleasing to him. That's the aroma that comes up. And like we read so many times throughout this, Noah did everything the way God told him to do it. And I think that has to be part of what is the aroma that's pleasing, the
Oh, good
obedience that
point.
was there.
Good point. I noticed right after that we've got a little uh, internal dialogue, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
because it says Hashem said in his heart.
Mm-hmm.
In his heart, comes up several places in the Torah, and it means like somebody's talking to themselves.
Right.
They're not saying it out loud. They're just thinking it in to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting here that this is not something that Hashem is saying to Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Noah's not hearing this. Moshe does get this information when Hashem has Moshe write the Torah, but at
Mm-hmm.
the time, Noah did not know this.
Good point.
I'm I'm guessing that that all of this is new is not known to Noah because it
Mm-hmm.
was Hashem speaking in his heart. And I thought that was a nice way of saying talking to yourself. But it's in your heart. It's in your heart.
So it's okay to talk to ourselves. If Hashem talks to himself, then can we talk to ourselves? So,
Yeah. Yeah. But it does give us a clue as to well, anytime somebody says something, we get a look at their personality or what is important to them.
mm-hmm.
And we get even more of it when they don't say it out loud, when it's personal. Like if somebody writes a diary or something and we happen to find it, we get a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more intimate information about this
Yes.
God. So I think that
Yeah.
this is very interesting to get a glimpse into what he says to his heart, in his heart.
It's like there's what you're talking about is like there's no filter. We hopefully when we're speaking to someone, we have a filter that we're conscious of what we're saying. But if you read somebody's diary or like this, it's not filtered. It's what is truly who they are.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting that he didn't say it to Noah.
Right. Right. But there's something disturbing to me in this verse. If we go on and finish it, because he says, like you read, he said in his heart, I will not continue to curse again the ground because of man. Again, referencing back to creation, because the ground was cursed because of man. And then this part is sad to me and kind of puzzling to me. He said, he will not curse the ground again because of man, since the thoughts of the heart of man are evil from his youth. Well, that again reminds me back to when the Noah's story started, that what grieved Hashem was that the thoughts in man's heart was constantly evil, constantly evil. And now here he's almost saying that again. His thoughts of the heart of man are evil from his youth. So did did humanity not learn anything from the flood? If the thoughts are still evil, what did the flood accomplish?
That's a deep question.
Yeah, I don't know. I When I was reading this to get ready for our recording, I thought, well, it's almost saying the same thing, like they're no better than what they were at the beginning, and that their thoughts are evil from his youth.
Well, you could take that in a positive light and say that evil thoughts don't come until their youth. So a baby doesn't have evil thoughts. It's not until they become a youth that evil thoughts are part of them. So
Okay.
it does give me a little bit of a positive spin that we start out good. It doesn't say from that evil from conception or or from birth, it just says from youth. So maybe before that, they're not
Well,
evil.
yeah, well, help me with reading the Hebrew. You're my Hebrew reading partner. Where it's translated from his youth, that word to me looks like na'ar, which is young man.
A young man, yeah.
Yeah. But brings up another question. If that's what happens, that whatever this age is when you become a youth, are we hardwired that that's our fate, that it's just going to automatically be that? Do I have a choice? Rabbi Wolbe has done some excellent couple of lectures on our free will, that there are some things that are set that we cannot change. Now, how we play those out, we have some free will, but there are some things that it's determined this is the way it's going to be. Is this one of them? Are we hardwired that at a certain point, this evil will be there?
But then, like you said, we do have free will as to how we respond to that.
True. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. I said that when I was really slowing down and reading this, that phrase kind of was disturbing to me. That the heart of man is evil from his youth. So, but again, like going back again, another connection back to Cain. God told him, "You can improve, you can do better." So, yeah, we don't have to stay that way. Um,
Right. It doesn't say always.
no, that's true. Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I think there's hope.
Yes, definitely. So, continuing in verse 21, let's see. I'll maybe move on to 22. And this
Yeah,
gives us
22 is beautiful.
a lot of hope in verse 22, that
Yeah.
continuously all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease. So, you know
Yes.
what I thought of when I read that? So, what do we
What?
do with climate change that we hear so much about?
It
Does
looks like,
this, are they opposite thoughts here? Or is there some way they are compatible? Do we have to worry about climate change when God says there's going to be cold and heat and summer and winter continuously?
and seed time and harvest will
Yeah.
not cease. Yeah. And
So
and I don't have to worry about nuclear annihilation.
true,
Yeah.
true. Oh,
Yeah. And until Hashem decides that this experiment or this creation is over, man cannot make that happen.
right.
So we cannot um, cease all the days of the earth, the seed time and harvest, heat and cold. That's not going to be something that's man made, that's man caused. That will continue. Yeah.
Yes. It's not in our power to change the seasons or change day and night. So, okay, Nancy, anything else? I think we are at the end of chapter 8.
Yay.
This
End of
might
chapter
be,
8.
yeah, this might be a good stopping point. Do you have anything else that you thought of in these few verses?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. My takeaway is I just love the last verse that it's very reassuring that the sun's going to rise in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be cyclical seasons and it's going to be hot and cold and seed time and harvest, and it's just a nice comforting assurance to
Yeah.
me. I love that last verse.
Yes. And that was my takeaway also, that we can depend on God's promises. He said is continuously all the days of the earth that this is going to happen, and we can take comfort in that and assurance in that. And he's faithful to keep his word. So I guess on that note, it's nighttime here. Don't know what it will be when our listeners tune into this, but it's night and we know that morning is coming.
Exactly.
So, okay, Nancy, as always, I've enjoyed this journey through Torah with you and look forward to next time. So
Yes, me
invite,
too.
and yeah, we invite people to come into Sarah's tent and listen, and we appreciate all who do listen to it. So until next time, when we will see you in Sarah's tent.
Good night.
Good night.